I know I haven't made a video in like 20 plus years. But it is what it is. I've been busy. I have a life, and boxing has been so. It's been whack. Honestly, it's been whack. It's been lame, and I've not been really caring about making videos about boxing. But I wanted to talk about this, okay? Because Luis Ortiz is back. All right, he's back. All right, the icon, the Cuban icon, one of the oldest heavyweights still around, Luis King Kong Ortiz. And guess what? He's back to fighting bums, okay? He's going to be fighting Scott Alexander, at least according to this article here that I came across on badlefthook.com. And apparently they're saying that he might fight on the undercard of Andy Ruiz versus Areola, which kind of pisses me off because I remember earlier this year they were talking about possibly making Andy Ruiz versus Luis King Kong Ortiz, and I thought that was a great fucking fight. So it's kind of like a slap in the face to put Luis Ortiz versus a bum, an absolute bum, and because that would probably be the co-main event of that fight, right? The main event would be Andy Ruiz versus Areola, but that would probably be the co-main event, and that's just like a slap in the face. Because how you gonna put Luis Ortiz, a guy that PBC considers a high caliber heavyweight, against some bum in the co-main event of Andy Ruiz versus Areola? It would have made way more sense to put Luis Ortiz versus Andy Ruiz. I mean, they're both PBC fighters. Why didn't that fight take place? And this is one thing I've always hated about Luis King Kong Ortiz, is the fact that he'll do a thing where he'll fight a guy like Deontay Wilder, and then he'll downgrade and fight an absolute bum. I hate that about Luis Ortiz. He's done that his entire career. All right, he fights a guy who's like considered legit at heavyweight, and then he downgrades to a fucking low level, low quality bum that nobody cares about. Nobody cares about Luis Ortiz fighting Scott Alexander. This guy doesn't have much time left at all, and he's wasting his time against a Scott Alexander. He's probably gonna make a $5,000 against Scott Alexander. It's just a waste of time fight. At his age, and with his quote unquote reputation, because he's supposed to be a badass. He's supposed to be this Cuban who's one of Deontay Wilder's biggest victories. He needs to be fighting legit competition. I hate when dudes do this, especially dudes who are supposed to be top 5 heavyweights and supposed to be dangerous guys fighting bums. Like when Dillian White fought Marius Walk last year, I thought that was such a shitty fight. Like, it was pathetic. Why are you fighting Marius Walk? You're supposed to be this top 10 heavyweight, and you're fighting that bum. So once again, Luis Ortiz downgrades. If this is true, and if he does fight this Scott Alexander, man, it's just a waste of time, crappy fight. It's an absolute waste of time. You're wasting your time. Why are you wasting your time against this guy? Who cares about you? You don't have time for a tune-up fight. He doesn't have time for a tune-up fight. He's 45 years old. He needs to be fighting Andy Ruiz. That would be. Wouldn't you guys have gotten excited if you heard Luis Ortiz versus Andy Ruiz Jr.? I would have. I would have been like, oh shit, that's great. I like that fight. Shit, even if I would have heard Luis Ortiz versus fucking F.A. Ajaba, I would have been hyped for that fight. Anything but a Scott Alexander. I just hate when he does this. And it pisses me off that they might make this fight like he might be the co-main event to Andy Ruiz versus Areola, because they were supposed to fight Andy Ruiz and Luis Ortiz. So it's so stupid for him to be. Are you gonna try to hype the fight up? Oh, they're gonna try to hype the fight up. So that's why they put him in the co-main event. You can't hype the fight up to real boxing fans when they know that Scott Alexander is a fucking bum. So of course you could expect 1,000,000% that Luis Ortiz will KO this guy in 2 rounds in probably spectacular fashion, and then people are gonna come around saying, "Oh my God, he knocked out Scott Alexander in 2 rounds. He a killer." It's just, but we already, any real boxing fan already knew that was going to be the outcome, from day one. You know, it would have been way more entertaining to see Luis Ortiz versus Andy Ruiz, two guys who, by the way, just came off devastating losses against the champions in the division, right? Ortiz and Andy Ruiz both lost to the champions, right? So, in their last fight. So, it would have been nice to see them fight each other. I just think I don't like Luis Ortiz who always does this. He'll fight one legit guy, and then he'll fight an absolute bum. And then he'll knock him out, and everybody will be praising him and acting like, oh my God, look, Luis Ortiz is back. No, he's not back. It's just he fought a guy who's a absolute bum, and that's why he looked good against that bum.